The silent pain, the bell rang across the halls of Celestial Unity School. It was the largest learning center on the neutral space station orbiting the planet Ventra 4. Students from every species across the galaxy studied here. Some were tall, others had horns, scales, or glowing eyes. But among all these powerful-looking beings, one student stood out, not because of her strength, but because of her silence. Her name was Lyra. She was small, with soft blue skin and big, innocent eyes. She belonged to the Varelian species, peaceful, calm, and gentle by nature. They were known for avoiding conflict. That made them easy targets. Every day, Lyra walked the halls with her head down. She carried her books close to her chest and never spoke unless someone forced her to. She sat alone in the cafeteria. No one smiled at her. No one offered her a seat. And worst of all, some students bullied her. The Crovers were the worst. Big, strong, and cruel, they believed strength was everything. They laughed at Lyra's voice, her quiet walk, her peaceful ways. "Hey, Jellyskin!" One shouted once, slapping her books from her hands. "Lose your voice again?" Others joined in. A tall Telkin boy poured some strange liquid over her desk. "Oops," he said, pretending it was an accident. The class laughed. Lyra didn single quotes T. No teacher stopped them. No student stood up. Everyone acted like they didn't see it. Because in that school, the strong ruled and the weak stayed quiet or suffered. Lyra wanted to disappear. Every day she whispered to herself, just one more day. Just survive one more day. But even she didn't know how long she could keep going. Then, one morning, something changed. A new student arrived. He wasn't very tall. He had short brown hair, human skin, and eyes that seemed too calm for someone new. His name was Eli, and he was from Earth. Humans were new to the galactic scene. Many races didn't respect them yet. They were seen as emotional, unpredictable, and primitive. But some feared them quietly, because humans had survived wars, disasters, and darkness. That few could imagine. Eli entered the classroom without a word. He sat at the back, watched everything, and said little. People ignored him, thinking he'd either try to prove himself or get crushed. But Eli didn't do either. He just watched. Days passed. Lyra continued to suffer. Eli kept watching. One afternoon, Lyra was walking home through the back corridor of the school. It was quiet, dimly lit, and always dangerous. She usually avoided it, but today the Crovers were waiting. They didn't speak. They surrounded her. One of them pushed her. Another grabbed her backpack. The third pulled her hair roughly. Lyra didn't scream. She never screamed. She just shook and begged, "Please, stop, please." A heavy fist rose in the air, about to strike, and a voice echoed in the hallway. Calm, sharp, leave her alone. Everyone turned. Eli stood at the end of the hall. His eyes were cold, not angry, but something in his look made the Crovers hesitate, just for a second. "What did you say, human?" "The largest Crovar growled," I said. Eli stepped forward. Slowly, "Leave her alone." The bullies laughed. "You want to join her? Maybe we should teach you how this place works." Eli dropped his bag. He didn't raise his fists. But the way he stood was like he had already decided what would happen next. Lyra's eyes widened. No one had ever stepped in for her. Never. "You really want to fight for this weak thing?" The Telkin asked. Pointing at Lyra. Eli looked at them and said something that made the whole hall silent. The weak only stay weak when the strong stay blind. The Crovers rushed him. What happened next was fast. Eli didn't overpower them. He used speed, timing, and unexpected moves. One by one, the bullies were knocked back. He didn't even punch much. He dodged, tripped them, used their size against them. One fell hard, another slipped. The third was disarmed in seconds. It wasn't clean. It wasn't perfect. But it was enough. The Crovers, humiliated, ran off. Lyra stood frozen in place, her body shaking, but not from fear this time. Eli turned to her, picked up her bag, and gently handed it over. "You okay?" She stared at him. Then slowly, for the first time in many weeks, she nodded. Far above. In the council chamber, where school monitors watched every corner of the station, someone whispered, "Did you see that?" A human stood up for a VIRELLIAN ... Another replied, "Mark that recording. This might be important." And so it began. One moment, one human, one silent girl. It would echo across the stars. Silence spread across the school like a cold. When the next day, the halls of celestial unity felt different. Whispers filled every corner. Students stared. Some sneered. Others looked impressed. A few were confused. But all of them had one question in mind. Did that human really fight the Crovers? Eli walked in like nothing had changed. His shirt had a small tear on the shoulder. There was a scratch near his left eyebrow. But his calm face didn't show fear or pride. He just walked to his seat and sat down quietly, like the day before meant nothing. But to everyone else, it meant everything. The bullies didn't show up for class. Rumor said they were in the med bay. Broken pride hurt more than broken bones. Lyra sat 3 rows away from Eli. Her hands still trembled, but her eyes kept going back to him. She had seen students fight before, but never for her. Never for someone like her. She wanted to say thank you, but the words wouldn't come out. During lunch, Eli sat alone until someone sat across from him. It was Lyra. She didn't say anything. At first, neither did he. But then, softly, she spoke. "Why did you help me?" Eli looked up from his tray. "Because no one else would." Lyra looked down. "That's not safe. You could have gotten hurt." Eli gave a small smile. "I've been hurt before. Doesn't mean I stopped doing what's right." Lyra blinked. No one ever talked like that. Here. In that moment, something changed not just between them, but inside Lyra too. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel completely alone. The incident didn't go unnoticed. By the end of the week, Eli was summoned to the Galactic Student Tribunal, a formal council made of teachers, guards, and species ambassadors. It was serious. Most students never even entered that room. As he walked in, a dozen alien eyes stared at him, cold, calculating, judging. The lead counselor, a tall, golden-skinned being from the Jarellan race, spoke first. "Human student Eli. Of Earth, you engaged in physical combat on school grounds. Explain your actions." Eli stood straight. He didn't fidget or look down. "I saw someone being hurt. I told them to stop. They didn't, so I made them." Murmurs spread across the CAMBE. Our Crovar ambassador slammed his fist. "This is aggression. Humans cannot be allowed to act like warriors on a peaceful station." The Earth ambassador, a middle-aged woman in a navy blue suit, stood calmly beside Eli. Her voice was sharp and clear. "My student defended a helpless individual when no one else would. If that's aggression, then the galaxy needs to rethink its values." Silence. Then Eli spoke again. "In my culture," he said, "we're taught to protect the ones who can't protect themselves. If we stay silent while others are hurt, then we become part of the problem." One of the Telkin teachers raised a brow. "You risked your own safety for someone not even from your species?" "Yes," Eli answered, "because strength means nothing if you only use it for yourself." There was no applause, no smiles, but something invisible shifted in the air. A quiet weight had been lifted. The tribunal ended with no punishment. A warning was given. But everyone in the room knew the message was clear. This human was not like the others. Outside the courtroom, Lyra waited. She hadn't been told to come. She just felt like she needed to be there. When Eli stepped out, she walked up to him, her voice firmer than before. "Thank you." He smiled. "You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do," she said. "No one ever saw me before? You did." That night, messages started appearing on the school's shared network. "Did you see the human speech?" He stood up to the council. Why didn't our people do that for Lyra? Maybe Earth isn't so weak after all. In a small room on the far end of the station, a young alien boy from a different weak species watched the video of Eli standing before the council. He had been bullied too. Every day. He watched Eli say, "If we stay silent while others are hurt, then we become part of the problem." The boy sat up. He felt something strange. Hope. And far beyond the station, in a shadowy chamber filled with powerful beings, a large figure leaned forward and growled, "Earth is waking something we thought was dead. That human boy. He's dangerous." The next morning, the school felt like a storm was coming. Lyra walked through the halls, her steps a little firmer than before. For the first time in her life, someone had stood for her. She wasn't sure how to feel, safe, nervous, or maybe even proud. But peace doesn't last long when power feels threatened. By midday, the rumors had changed. It was no longer just about Eli fighting the bullies. Now, they said he humiliated the Crovers, insulted the council, and even challenged the laws of the station. In the dark corners of the school, eyes were watching. Whispers carried a warning. Humans are stepping out of line. They need to be reminded who controls this galaxy. That afternoon, something strange happened. A message appeared on Eli's school tablet. No name, just a line. "You should have stayed quiet." Eli read it calmly, then deleted it. Later, during training class, the teacher, a sharp-eyed Valdari, called him forward. "Eli, show us your species' reflexes. You'll face off against one of our best." A large Tulkun stepped onto the mat. His eyes were cold. His arms were thick. He smiled, but it wasn't friendly. "Don't worry, human," he said. "I'll go easy." Eli didn't reply. The match started. The Tulkun charged forward, fast and powerful. He wasn't pretending. He was trying to hurt Eli. But Eli wasn't afraid. He dodged, rolled, ducked, moved. He didn't fight with anger. He fought with focus, calm, sharp, like water around stone. The crowd watched silently. After several minutes, the Tulkun slipped. Just one mistake. Eli used it. A twist. A move. The larger alien crashed to the floor flat on his back. The room was stunned. Eli simply stepped back and offered his hand to help him up. The Tulkun stared at it. Then took it. Later that evening, things got worse. Lyra returned to her room and found the door damaged. Inside, her belongings were scattered. Her books were torn. A message was painted on the wall in dark ink. "Stay with the humans. Suffer with the humans." She froze. She couldn't stop her hands from shaking. But she didn't cry this time. She didn't feel fear the same way anymore. Because now she knew she wasn't alone. She contacted Eli. When he arrived, he stood silently in her room, looking at the message. Then he turned to her. "Are you okay?" She nodded slowly. "They're scared of you." Eli looked at the wall again. "Good." The next day, something happened that no one expected. At lunch, Lyra walked toward Eli's table, as usual. But this time, someone else was already sitting with him. A small group of other students, different species. A boy from the Zinthari, a girl from the Mavari, and even a shy-looking Tulkun. They didn't speak much, but their presence said enough. They were tired of staying silent, too. And so, without a word, a quiet movement began. One student, then two, then five, they ignored, they mocked. The silence started to gather around Eli and Lyra. They didn't call themselves a group. They didn't start a club. But everyone knew what they were. The ones who stood together in. The council chambers above, reports started flooding in. Human boy gaining influence. Multiple races following him. Alien students uniting outside traditional alliances. A tall figure slammed the desk. Enough. Later that night, in the shadows of the space station, a new plan was whispered. A plan to silence Eli. Not with fear, not with warnings, but with a perfect trap. And while that storm built in secret, Lyra sat with Eli on a balcony, looking at the stars. "Why do you help people who don't even like you?" she asked softly. Eli thought for a moment. "Because one day someone helped me when I thought no one would." Lyra looked up at the stars, then at him. "That's why they're afraid of you." He smiled gently. "No," he said. "They're afraid of what we become, together." By the end of the week, everything had changed. It started small. A few students began sitting with Eli and Lyra during lunch. Then others started walking with them in the halls. Some just nodded when they passed, simple signs of quiet respect. But it spread fast. They weren't the strong ones. They weren't the popular ones. Most had never spoken up for anything. But now they had a reason. They called themselves nothing. But others started calling them the quiet fire. One morning, a Mavari girl named Sika walked into class with a long scratch across her face. No one said a word. Eli saw it and asked, "Who did that to you?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Same ones who broke Lyra's door." Eli looked around the room. 3 Crovers were sitting in the back, watching him. He didn't say anything, but his eyes told them one thing: "I'm not scared." Later that day, Eli went to the training room, not to fight, but to teach. He began showing others like Sika and a few small Zinthari boys how to defend themselves, how to move, how to think fast. He didn't teach them to hurt. He taught them to stand out at first. Only 5 showed up. The next day, 15. By the 3rd day, over 30. Lyra watched this with wonder. She had never imagined students from different species standing together. Her whole life, the powerful ruled. The weak stayed quiet. But now, the quiet were learning how to speak, with strength, with unity. But not everyone was happy. In a tall, dark tower near the school's central command, a high-ranking noble named Lord Baraktarin watched the news feeds. He was a Telkin rich, powerful, and cruel. His son had been one of the bullies Eli fought. That shame could not be ignored. "Humans are a virus," he said to his guards. "They infect the weak with courage. If we don't stop this now, the old order will fall." One of his aides whispered, "But the council warned us, don't harm the Earth boy directly." Barak's smile was cold. Who said anything about harming him? He leaned forward. "We'll just break him from the inside." That evening, Lyra received a message on her tablet. Unknown sender. One line: "Your human friend is not what you think he is." Attached was a file. A video. It showed Eli, younger, in a dark human facility, standing in front of broken walls and a group of soldiers. He looked angry, lost, powerful. Lyra's hands trembled. Was it real? She stared at the screen, unsure what to believe. The next day, Eli walked into class as usual, but Lyra didn't look at him. She sat quietly, her eyes filled with confusion. Eli noticed, but didn't ask. Something was wrong, but he didn't want to push her. He felt it. The storm was coming. After school, a group of unknown students blocked Lyra in the hallway. "You think the human protects you?" One sneered. "He's just using you to look like a hero." Before they could move closer, Eli appeared behind them. One of them stepped back, startled. But Eli didn't speak. He just stood there. The bullies walked away, grumbling. Lyra finally looked up at him. "Was it true?" she asked. "The video?" Eli nodded slowly. "Yes, I was angry. I lost someone back then. I didn't handle it well." Lyra searched his eyes. "But why are you here now?" Eli took a breath. "Because I promised myself I'd never let fear control me again. Or anyone else." Silence. Then Lyra stepped forward and whispered, "And I'm still with you." Above them, surveillance bots watched quietly. Far away, Lord. Barrack smiled. "The trap is set." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, alien news networks began reporting the story of the human boy leading a new wave of resistance. In the school system, some mocked it. Some feared it, but others were inspired. A signal went out from a forgotten colony world. A message sent into deep space. "Earth, we see you, and we're ready." The spark was no longer silent. A movement had begun. The stars above Celestial Unity Station looked peaceful. But peace is often a lie. In the dark space beyond the nearest moon, a large battleship drifted silently. It belonged to Lord Barrack Tyran, hidden under a false cargo code. It wasn't there for trade. It was there for revenge. Inside the ship, Barrack stood before a hologram of Eli's face. "This human boy," he growled, "has poisoned our order, corrupted our youth, and made the weak believe they are strong. I won't allow it." Behind him stood a group of silent mercenaries, trained, ruthless, and paid well. "Bring him to me," Barrack said. "Alive if possible, broken if not." Back at the school, the mood was tense. After the video leak, many students began to question Eli. Some avoided him. A few stayed loyal. Lyra stood beside him, but even she could feel the eyes watching, the whispers returning. Still, Eli kept moving forward. He trained the younger students. He helped repair a damaged study room that bullies had destroyed. He even stepped into a debate class and stunned the teachers with his calm logic. But deep inside, he felt something growing. A shadow. A threat. Something was coming. That evening, the alarm rang. Emergency lockdown. Students were ordered to return to their dorms. Guards moved quickly through the halls. Teachers looked confused. No one knew what had happened until a message appeared on every screen in the building. "This is a direct security warning. Intruder breach in Section 7. All students are to remain in place." Eli's eyes narrowed. Section 7 was near the transport bay. He looked at Lyra. She nodded. No words needed. They ran. As they neared Section 7, they saw the damage. A door blown open. Scorch marks. A security bot crushed. Then footsteps. Heavy. Military. Out of the smoke came 3 armored mercenaries. One pointed directly at Eli. "That's him." Eli didn't wait. He grabbed Lyra's hand and ducked behind. A pillar as plasma fire lit up the hallway. The school wasn't built for war. It was a learning center. It had defenses, but nothing against a private hit squad. "Why are they after you?" Lyra shouted. Eli looked at her. "Not me." "What I represent." They ran, weaving through halls, avoiding patrols. But the mercenaries were fast and trained to track. Meanwhile, Lord Barrack watched from orbit. "Soon," he said to himself, sipping dark blue liquid, "the weak will remember their place." Eli and Lyra made it to the old training wing abandoned. Years ago. Eli pulled a hidden access panel from the wall. "How do you know about this?" Lyra asked. Eli gave a tired smile. "I read too much." Inside the panel was an emergency transmitter. He typed fast. A short message. "Human student under direct threat. Unauthorized force detected. Earth, respond." He sent it. Then the transmitter exploded. Shot from behind. They turned. One of the mercenaries had found them. He aimed his weapon. End of the line. But before he could fire, a steel pole struck him in the side. A young Telkin student stood behind him, panting. "I figured you'd need backup," he said. More students arrived, Zinthari, Mavari, even a few brave Virelians. They didn't have weapons. They had courage. Together, they stood in front of Eli and Lyra. The mercenary looked at them and laughed. "You think this is a fight?" Eli stepped forward. "No," he said. "This is a message." Then, from the shadows, several station guards arrived, finally alerted by the student emergency pings. The mercenary tried to run, but it was too late. Hours later, in the council chamber, the truth came out. Lord Barak's name, his plan. False video. The hired mercenaries. It was all exposed. He was banned from council service and arrested by his own people. And Eli? He stood silently in front of the Galactic Council. One of the oldest counselors, a glowing Mavari elder, asked, "Why did you not run?" Eli looked at him. "Because I didn't come here to survive," he said. "I came here to stand." The chamber was silent. Then, slowly, the Mavari elder nodded. "Then Earth has brought more than a species to this galaxy. It has brought a spirit." Far away, Earth received the distress signal. They didn't reply with words. They replied with a single message. "We're listening." The news spread across the galaxy faster than light. Human student saves galactic school. Lord Barak's plot exposed. Unity rising among the young. For the first time in decades, the galaxy wasn't talking about war, power, or politics. They were talking about a boy who stood up and a girl who found her voice. At Celestial Unity School, things were not the same anymore. Lyra walked through the halls, not with fear, but with calm confidence. Others smiled at her. Some even waved. A few younger students followed her, asking questions about the resistance group, though she always laughed and said, "We're just students." But she wasn't alone anymore. The quiet girl the galaxy forgot had become a symbol. Eli remained quiet too, like always. But everywhere he went, heads turned. Not in fear, but in respect. Even the Crovers no longer mocked him. Some even nodded. When they passed, the council had cleared Eli of all charges. Earth's name was no longer whispered with doubt. It was spoken with wonder. A new trust had begun. A week after the attack, the school held a public assembly. Every species was represented. Students filled the stadium. Hologram cameras hovered. Above, broadcasting the event across planets. Lyra stood at the center stage. She took a deep breath. Then, in a soft but strong voice, she spoke. "I was small. I was quiet. I thought no one could hear me. But someone did." She looked over at Eli, who stood at the side, watching with a gentle smile. "And when he stood for me, I learned to stand for myself." She turned back to the crowd. "Many of us are told we don't matter. That strength is loud, and silence is weakness. But I believe sometimes the strongest ones are the ones who choose peace until peace is threatened." She paused, and sometimes all it takes is one voice to remind the galaxy who we can be. The crowd was silent. Then, slowly, applause began, soft at first, then louder. Until the entire stadium shook with the sound of change. Later that night, Lyra and Eli sat on the observation deck, watching the stars. "They're calling you a hero now," Lyra said. Eli smiled slightly. "I didn't do it to be a hero." "I know," she replied. "That's what makes you one." They sat in silence. The stars stretching forever before them got far across the stars. On distant planets and moons, young aliens watched the broadcasts. Some wiped their eyes. Some stood up. Some whispered to themselves, "If he can do it, maybe I can too." In Earth's main galactic embassy, a letter arrived. It was short. Humanity has earned not only its place, but its purpose. Let us build the future together. Galactic Youth Council back on the station. A new classroom. Plaque was placed in the hall, carved in crystal, written in Galactic Common, in honor of the student who stood when no one else would, who reminded us that courage is not strength, but the choice to do what's right, even when you stand alone. Eli read it once, smiled, and walked past it quietly, because he didn't need his name on it. The galaxy already knew, and so, in A School Among the Stars, a girl who was once forgotten, and a boy who came from Earth, began a movement that echoed through the galaxy, not with weapons, not with power, but with a simple human truth. The weak stay weak, only when the strong stay silent. The end.